Today, I'm going to be running you through this AI automation system which I've built, which is a CV screener. So it's going to take in CVs for a recently posted job, whether that be in PDF form, text form, or Word form. It's going to find strengths with the candidate, weaknesses, do a full thorough analysis, and then update this to a spreadsheet. Now, the system can be used to save a load of time during the recruitment process and also pick up any fine details that are missed. So I'm going to run you through quickly what each part of this workflow does as a general high-level overview, and then we're going to go into building this step by step. So the first part of our workflow, we need to have a trigger, and our trigger is going to be when an email is received. So say we've posted a job posting, we say send an email to whatever email it is with your CV. Then once a candidate sends their CV through to our email, it's going to trigger this workflow to start. So the workflow is going to start. It's then going to upload their CV to our Google Drive. And then it's going to determine whether it's a Word doc, a PDF, or a text file. If it's a Word doc, we're going to go down this blue route here, and we're going to make a HTTP request to our Google Drive. So I'm not going to go into the detail of what we do here yet. You're going to see that in the workflow, but we're essentially just going to convert it to a Google Doc because it allows us to do some easier processing. We're then going to process the file, get some details, and then we're going to send all this information to our AI agent here, which is going to screen the CV, find any details in there, and then go to our next part, which is the information extractor. Now, from the information extractor, we're just going to pull out a few key details like a name, their email, etc. And then we're going to update all the relevant details to a spreadsheet. So it's going to be in our Google Sheet. So I'll quickly just show you the spreadsheet here. So we've got the date. We're going to have a link to the resume, a first name, a last name, email, strengths, weaknesses, risk factor, reward factor, an overall fit, and the justification. And it's going to be the same process for the PDF and the text CVs as well. We just had to do a little bit more manipulation on the Word CV route. So for the PDF, we're going to upload that PDF to our Google Drive into a resumes folder. Then we're going to extract the text from that file. And then it's going to go through the same process from here onwards. And the same thing for our text CV file. So if I go to my Google Drive here, you can see I've created a folder called resumes. And this has obviously got nothing in it at the moment, but once we start uploading CVs or start receiving CVs through our email, they're going to get populated in this folder here. Now, we're also going to be comparing the CVs. Obviously, you can adjust this for your specific application, but I've just created this draft job application description, which is going to be for a visual merchandiser role. And this is the role that we're looking for. So a minimum of 2 years experience, certain qualifications, what success in the role looks like, etc. So this is obviously just created by ChatGPT. So you can adjust this for your actual specific scenario. Now, our AI agent is going to be comparing our job application that we've got here to any CVs that it's going to receive. Okay, so that is a high-level overview of what this workflow does and how it works. So let's get into building it step by step. Okay, so like I said, the first step we're going to want is a Gmail trigger. So this is going to be when someone sends us a CV, it's going to land in our inbox, and then it's going to trigger this workflow. So I'm going to search up Gmail here, Gmail, and on message received. Now, there's just a couple of things that we need to change in this first note here. So we're going to turn off the simplify option. We want to get like the full amount of information that we're going to get from our email. And then we want to add an option here, which is download attachments. And then we want to turn this on. Okay, so I've just gone and sent myself a CV quickly. So I'm going to execute this workflow here. So we're going to have the boxes that we can drag and drop in. So you can see that I've received an attachment here, and it automatically gets called attachment 0. So if I click view, it's going to be from a CV that I just randomly created. It's from a dummy person called Sarah Wilson. This isn't a real number or a real person, so don't try and copy this. But yeah, it's going to go to a attachment _0 output. Now, the next node we want to add is a Google Drive node. So we want to take the CV that we've just got, and then we're going to upload it to our resumes folder in our Google Drive. So I'm going to search up Google Drive here, Google Drive, and then I'm going to hit on upload file. Okay, now for our input data field name, we want to change this to what is the output data field name on our last node. So as I just showed you, that is attachment _0. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. Perfect. And then for our file name, what we're going to do is we're going to put the subject in here, and it's going to automatically change to expression. And then we're going to add a resume text onto the end of that. So this is going to be assuming that we've told people that are applying for this job to put their name into the subject as the title. And then in the parent folder here, so this is going to be where we actually want to upload it to. You want to go ahead, obviously, to your Google Drive and create a resumes folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit mine here. Okay, great. So now that is going to upload to our folder. So I'm going to hit execute step to do that. Hopefully no errors here. Okay, perfect. So I've uploaded the file to our resume folder. So if I click over and go to resumes, we can see, cool, we've got our first resume in here. It's a Word doc. So now we're going to have to deal with that first route that I mentioned at the start of the video. Okay, so I mentioned that there's 3 different routes that the file could come in. So it could be a PDF, a Word doc, or it could be a text file. So we're going to deal with all 3 of those now. So we want to put a filter node in here. Sorry, not a filter node. We want to put a switch node in here. So we're going to route the workflow depending on what type of CV is received. And we want to have 3 different routing rules here. So first off, let's just add another 2. And then we're going to rename all of them to be our different routes. So the first one is going to be Word. The next one is going to be PDF. And the final one is going to be text. Okay, so to route these depending on what type of attachment they are, we need to drag and drop this meme type into here. I'm not sure say it, meme type, whatever it is. We need to drag it into this first field here, and the value needs to be according to what type it is. So I was wrong. I attached a text file instead of a Word doc. So this is actually going to go into the bottom box, but we'll come back to that. So I'm going to resend an email, which is as a Word doc, and you're going to see what form it comes in here if it's a Word document. Okay, so I've just resent that, and as you can see, it's a slightly different output that we've got here when it's a Word doc. It's a little bit more complicated. So all you want to do is you want to highlight this text and then copy it into this box here and make sure you leave it as fixed. Now our next output is going to be if it's a PDF. So again, we want to drag over the type in there, and the value we want to put in here is application/PDF. So just like that. And then for our final one, it's going to be if it's a text input. So again, drag this over. And then our value that we want to put in here is text/plain. Okay, perfect. So that is our routing node done. So if I execute step, there's no output in here. It's just going to route it to a certain part of our workflow. So you can see it's gone to the correct part, which is Word. So now we need to add our next nodes in here for if it goes down the Word route. Now, the first node we want to add, if we go down the Word route, is a HTTP node. So I'm going to hit add here, and then HTTP. Now, in this HTTP request, essentially what we're going to be doing is we would have uploaded a Microsoft Word document, and all we're going to be doing is copying it as a Google Doc. Now, the reason we're doing this is just because it's a little easier to do the processing of a Google Doc rather than a Word doc. Now, as the URL that we want as our endpoint, it's going to be this here. So if you just want to copy this in, and then in between files and copy, we want to drag our file ID into this part here and make sure this is turned to expression. And then on authentication, we want to put this as predefined credential type. And then in the credential type here, you want to put your Google Drive OAuth 2 API. And then we want to hit on the send body parameter, and we're going to change this to using JSON. And then this is what we want to put in our body. So we've got to put the meme type, and we want to leave this as it's always going to be this format that we want to convert it to. And then the name, which is going to be what we drag and drop from there. And then the parent. So this is the folder that we want to actually save it to. So you just get this field here from the parents field over here. Okay, perfect. Then once that's done, we can hit execute step and we can go on to the next part of our node. And now our next node is where we're going to be downloading that file that we just converted. So I'm going to type in Google Drive here, and we want to download a file. So hit download file there. Now on the file that we want to be downloading, we're going to change this to by ID, and it's going to be the ID from our previous node. So we want to drag and drop that in there, and that's going to automatically change to an expression. And then in the options, we're going to do a Google file conversion. Add conversion here, and then we're just going to change this to PDF. And this is essentially going to change the Google Docs that we just created into a PDF so we can get the text from it pretty easily. Then once we've done that, hit execute step. Perfect. And you can see we've got our output, which is automatically called data of an applicant called Emily Carter. Okay, now our next node is going to be an extract from file node, which is basically where we're going to get all the data from our PDF. So we're going to go on to extract from PDF. And then there's actually nothing you need to change on this node here, as the input binary field is already correct. It's called data. And as you can see, that's all we've got as our input here. So I'm going to hit execute step, and perfect, that's run. And you can see in the text section, we've got the output from our PDF. Okay, now we want to grab that text field that we just saw, and we want to be able to manipulate and do a few things. So what we're going to do is add an edit fields node, and we're going to do some manual mapping here. So the name that we had in was a text. So we're going to put text in here, and the value is going to be from our previous node, and we're going to drag and drop this text value into the box. Perfect, then we're going to hit execute step here. And you can see we've got our text value from the extract file node in a nice field here that we can drag and drop into our AI agent. Now the next node we want to add is another Google Drive node. This is where we're going to be getting the job description for the job that we've actually posted. So we're going to be hitting the download file node here. And then from our list, we're going to be selecting the visual merchandising job description that we made. So I'm going to hit there. And we want to add a Google file conversion. Add conversion, and again, change this to PDF. Okay, perfect. So we've now got the output from the job description that we want, so we can use this to compare to our candidate CV. Now I'm going to be putting all these files and this whole workflow in the description, so don't worry about it. You can copy that for free. Just make sure you hit like and subscribe, and then you get access to all of these files. Now, our next node after that Google Drive node, we're going to be extracting the information from that job description. So we're going to do extract from file here, and then again, extract from PDF. And then we can leave this as is. So we're going to hit execute step, so we can drag it into our next node after. Now you can see we've got all the information from our job description node. The next thing we want to add is our AI agent. And this is what's going to do all the analysis and see if the candidate matches the job description fit that we want. So I want to change this to define below, and then we want to put in a user prompt and a system prompt. So the user prompt is kind of like the message that changes from user to user. It's the dynamic message. And the system prompt is what we want our agents to always be using, what its job role is always going to be. So I want to hit add option here and then system message. So in the user message part, we're going to be putting the candidate's resume. So this is the dynamic information that's going to be changing from application to application. So we're going to drag and drop the edit fields field in there, and you can see it's filled out with all of this person's information from their CV. Then we're going to turn on required specific output format. I'm going to come back to that in a second, but first we're going to fill out the system message. So I'm going to hit expression on here and then open this up quickly. Okay, now in our prompt, essentially what we've done is we've told the AI agent who it is and what we need it to do. So we've told it that it's an expert recruiter in visual merchandising roles, focus on what the candidate does well, and we want our output to contain a few things. So what the candidate's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what the risk factor is, if it's a low, medium, or high score, and explain worst case scenario if the candidate is hired. The reward factor, again, low, medium, high, and a description of this. And then finally, an overall fit rating from 0 to 10 and a justification for that rating. And then finally, at the bottom, we've put our job description. So this is going to be the text. If I scroll down here, you can see it's inputted. This is going to be our job description so that AI knows what it is that we're actually looking for in our job role and how the candidate CV compares to this. Again, I'm going to have all the prompts in the description for free, so just make sure you like and subscribe and you'll be able to get access to all of them. Okay, perfect. So that's our prompts done now. So we just need to add a chat model. So I'm just going to add an OpenAI model. It doesn't actually matter too much which ones you add. We'll just leave it as this for now. You can play around with different models if you want. And then we want to add a structured output parser. Now, the reason we want this is because, as you saw in our prompt, there are specific outputs that we want from our AI. Now, to be able to drag and drop these into our Google Sheets or spreadsheet of your choice, we want to have these in specific fields that we can map. Okay, so in our structured output parser here, we're going to change this to define using JSON schema, and I'm just going to paste in what I've got. So this is basically telling our AI agent how we want our output to be. So we've got a description, we've got different fields that we want. So name, candidate weaknesses, candidate strengths, the risk factor, etc. So we're telling our agent exactly how we want the output to be. Okay, now our next node is going to be a cool node, which is an information extractor node. So you don't actually use this node too often, but we're going to be getting some key information from our agent. So it's going to be the first name, the last name, and the email. So what we're going to do is going to grab our text field from the fields here. So this is where we like standardized the text. And then we're going to add our 3 attributes. So we're just going to add attribute 3 times. And then we're going to put our first one as the first name. Here, first name and a quick description, which is the first name of the candidate. And then switch this on to required. And then we're just going to repeat this for the last name as well. Perfect. And then again, hit required. And then hit the last one, which is the email address of the candidate. And again, hit required. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to hit execute step. And then finally on our model, we want to connect this up to our OpenAI brain here. So we can literally just drag and drop these over. You could add another node for another LLM if you want to use, but I'm just going to use the same one over here. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to hit execute step on the information extractor one. Okay, perfect. So you can see from our previous node, which I forgot to show me running, we've got the outputs from our agents. We've got the candidate strengths, this is all of their strengths, weaknesses, we've got the risk factor, etc. So we've got all these fields that we can drag and drop over. And then now from this information log, we've got the first name, the last name, and the email. Okay, perfect. Now we've got all the information we need to put it into a Google Sheets. So we're going to add our final node, which is a Google Sheets here. And then we're going to append a row in the sheet. Obviously, you need to go to your Google Sheets and create a resume screener sheet in there, but it's really easy. You just want to set up the columns that we've got over here. So we've got the date, resume, name, first name, last name, email, strengths, weaknesses, risk factor, reward factor, fit, and justification. Then once you've added all those columns, you want to connect your sheet. So hit resume screener, and obviously it's just sheet 1 for now. Now, in our date column, again, has a few built-in variables. One of the ones is the current date that it is. So if you literally just copy this, an expression, it's going to copy the current date and the time. I need to drag and drop anything over from our fields. Okay, so the resume, to put the resume link in there, we're going to go to our upload file node, and we are going to put the link that we've got from here in. So this is going to be our web view link. So I'm going to drag and drop that into there. And then for our first name, last name, and email, we've got that from our information extractor. So I'm going to drag the first name in there, last name in there, and the email into there. Okay, now for the rest of these are what the AI has analyzed, so we need to drag that from our AI agent node. Okay, so we're going to drag and drop our strengths over in here. Now there's a little bit of magic that I'm just going to do. And this is going to be, so we join all of these strengths that we've got together into one clean format that we can put into our sheets. So you literally just want to add a dot join, and then parentheses, and then a double new line, put them all apart. So if I open this up, you can see that it split out all of these strengths into, different bullet points. And then we're going to be doing the same thing for the weaknesses. So I'm going to drag over the weakness, and then again, put in that join. Perfect. Then for our risk factor, we're going to just drag over the score, open this up quickly, and then we're going to put a couple lines between there, go back down to score, wherever it's gone. And then we're going to put in our explanation. Perfect. And then it's going to be the same thing for the reward factor. So we're going to put in, let's just open this up again. We're going to put in the score and the explanation. So we're going to put the score and then a couple lines between that. And then we're going to put in the explanation. Okay. Then we're going to drag our overall fit rating in there. And our final one, which is the justification for that rating, into the last box. Okay, perfect. So that is all of the nodes in here. I'm now going to hit execute step, and hopefully this is updated into our spreadsheet. So perfect. It's executed correctly in our NAN workflow. So let's go over to our spreadsheet and see if it's updated. Perfect. So we've got the date in here, the resume or a link to it, first name, the last name, the email, strengths, weaknesses, a risk factor, a reward factor, an overall fit score, and a justification. Perfect. So that's all uploaded correctly. So we just need to do the last part of our workflow now, which is accounting for if they upload a PDF and a text file. So for our PDF route, the first thing we want to do is download our file from our Google Drive. We would have just uploaded it into this node here, and then we've decided which route we want to go down, and then now we want to download it. So I'm going to search up Google Drive, and then download a file. And then in the file part, we're going to put by ID. I'm going to drag the upload file ID into there. And it's going to automatically change to an expression. Then I'm going to hit execute step just so we can get an output. And then our next node, we want to extract the data from that PDF. So I'm going to type in extract and then extract from PDF. And again, we can just leave this here. So now we want to connect this up to the top part of our workflow here where it all becomes unison and joins together. So we're going to drag this into our standardizing module here. And that is the PDF part done. So now we just need to put in the last part, which is for the text route. So again, we're going to be downloading a file. So Google Drive, download file. Again, we want to change this to by ID and drag and drop our Google Drive ID in there. Now we want to extract from a text file here. So we're going to do extract from file, but instead of from a PDF, we're going to be extracting from a text file. So we've got our input binary data field as data and the destination output field. We're actually going to change this to be text so we can make sure this lines up with the rest of our workflow. So then finally drag and drop that into your fields node here. And that is our whole workflow complete. So we've got a workflow which takes in a CV, decides if it's a Word doc, PDF, or a text, and then sends that information to our AI agent, and that does some analysis, see if they match our job description, and uploads everything to our spreadsheet. If you guys found this really useful, I learned a lot during the process. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe, and go to the description to get access to the free templates. If you're a business and found that this might be a workflow that is super useful to you, because you maybe recently opened up a job opening, then feel free to reach out to the website in the description and you can get in contact with me to start your process. That's all for this video. If you found it useful, again, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.